7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Through Black and White Eyes on this horrible Sunday after a defeat. We got through the day, got through the 12-hour shift, looking like crap, but I'm here. And my green screen's broke. So if anyone wants to donate tonight, that's where the money's going to be going, because I need a new one. Snapped again for the third time. I don't think I'm going to be able to drill any more holes in it, to be fair. But if anyone wants to become a member, there's the link. We rely on members for prizes and to keep the channel running. And obviously, to try and buy green screens and stuff like that. Super chats are available, bottom right hand corner if you want to. It's type yourself. Graham says hi, and then Leslie's talking to them. Evening, Graham as well. Two Grahams, Gary, Graham, Lee, and another Lee. All in the chat early. I like that. And we're all good. And I've got Ian in the background ready to come on. I'll just shout out the sponsors really quickly because you know they're providing the prizes at the end of the month, and they're amazing prizes. So Diacro. $40 gift card they're going to be given to the channel to give away to one lucky viewer. Link is in the description. Everyone gets 20% off who watches this channel if they buy anything, and the stuff is amazing. And football prizes, they're going to be given £100 credit to their website. Now, if you haven't checked them out, go and check them out. Link is in the description. They do amazing raffles. We've got an Anthony Gordon signed shirt at the moment, which looks absolutely fantastic. And they're going to be giving £100 credit to the channel to be able to give to you guys. So that is absolutely amazing. But let's not delay the inevitable and let's talk about the game. So let's bring Ian in for that. How are we doing, Ian?
I'm all right, mate. Yourself?
Good, good. Yeah, good, man. Shot home from work and I'm ready to rock and roll about football at last. I love the top as well.
Yeah, it's one of my favourites. Yeah.
I love it as well. Oh, what's this one? How much is a green screen badge? I don't know. I think they're about 80 quid. But it snapped for the third time. I'm not impressed. Thank you, Les. That is absolutely amazing. A super chat. That's so generous. Honestly, I can't thank you all enough. And hopefully I'll be able to afford a new green screen at some point. So we are here to talk about this. It was obviously a 3-2 defeat to Man City. At the start of the game, Ian, before we get into the chat of what happened in teams and all this sort of stuff, what were your expectations going into that game? You went to the game as well, didn't you?
No, I didn't go to the game.
No, you didn't know. But
No.
What were you hoping for? I was hoping for a point at best.
Minimum point. Obviously, Joe Linton being missing was a big weakness for us a little bit. But like I said, you have to be at your very, very best to come away with a point against one of the best teams in the world at the minute. I felt optimistic.
The best team in the world. They won the Club World Cup, didn't they?
Well, they've got all the trophies to prove it, and there's just no getting away from it. We were at home, though, so I felt optimistic. And if the Newcastle United turn up at home with the crowd, anything can happen. And we've proved we beat Man City before at home. So I was kind of on the fence, but optimistic at the same time. We could get something out of that football match.
Yeah, I was. My heart said 2-2, but my head said 2-1, so I wasn't too far away. What's broken? It's one of the arms is broken. It's broken off it. I just need to drill it back in if I can. We're going to come to that later on in the show because that's obviously not to do with the game, but that is very interesting. I've heard about that. And my record still stands because I didn't go to the game. Sorry to rub that in. You know what it is? Since the takeover, I've never seen us lose at St James's Park yet. I think that's quite good. I've been to quite a lot of games as well. I haven't been to some big ones, so I'm quite impressed with that. Before we get into the lineups, War Flags knocks it out of the park again. Fabian Schar signed a new contract. Everyone needs a Fabian Schar. Let's face it, Ian, we are not going to find another Fabian Schar, are we? Unless we pay 67 million.
Not for the price we paid for a postman. Not a cat and house chance.
What was it? 3 million, 3.5?
I think it was 3.5 million. I think it is, and for him to sign another year's deal is just. I think he's
I think
fantastic,
it's
mate.
Is it 2
Or
years?
is it not a year extension of a year what he's already got? So it makes it 2, but it's a year
Oh,
extension
that could be right.
on his contract. And Fabian's he's put on. I think he's put on today as well that it means so much. Everything like what War Flags has done, and because that's genuine. He deserves that. And like I say, it's to get a. You will never ever get a centre half with his quality for that kind of money ever again in football. Never. So we are so lucky
not on
to
the
have
ball.
him.
Oh, we are. And during the Brucey ages, he didn't look any. He looked like a £3 million signing, didn't he? And then,
well, Steve Bruce said he wasn't a centre half. Then he tried to play him as a holding midfielder. Then he just knocked his confidence in, and he just didn't even look like he kick a football. But that's what Steve Bruce did to players. I mean, come on, he's a full Swiss international. I mean, that national side has got a lot of talent into it, and for him to Steve Bruce to turn around and say that he can't play here and can't play there, then all of a sudden you see how good he is when Sven Botman, he's a different player when Sven Botman plays alongside him. When Jamal, I know he shifted over to the left to accommodate when Botman's hasn't been there, but still, you can see his qualities. But when he's on his natural side, I think he's brilliant, and he just oozes. He's dead calm, dead collective, and he just. Well, I say we are so lucky to have Fabian Schar for another 2 years.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And like I say, it's going to cost 60, 70 million to try and replace him, isn't it, really, when you think about it?
1,000,000%. I mean, obviously, Sven Botman came in for a lot of money, and we were on about on the other show to try and like put a player of Sven Botman's quality next to him. And I said to Maury, now you will have to pay 60, 70 million to get him to football club. Yeah. But is the attributes as good as Fab Schar in other stuff? Like I say, you're going to have to spend a lot of money to get close to Fabian Schar for the pennies that we paid for that bloke.
Yeah, well, we're missing those messy runs that he makes. Lee, please don't say you bought something, because I honestly don't know what I'm talking about half the time with stuff like this. So please drop me a message, because
you could have a greenhouse on the way or anything here.
I could, couldn't I? I love it. Let's have a look at the lineups. I was a bit surprised in Man City's lineup a little bit. I thought Grealish would have started. I thought he was fit enough to start, especially after talking to Martin, who was the Man City fan who came on the show on the Friday night. And I thought Dooku would have swapped over to the right side and Grealish would have played left side, knowing that Dan Burn was going to be playing. Because I think Dooku would have run Dan Burn absolutely mental if he played down there. Were you? I mean, like, it's quality all over the pitch, though, isn't it?
I mean, there was Kanji obviously had an injury against Huddersfield, so he had to. I knew he was out, so Gvardiol would play left back. I thought Grealish would have played, to be honest, and I thought Docker would have been on the bench. Because I think he trusts Bernardo. I think Bernardo Silva is a fantastic, lovely little footballer, and I think he's a Pep footballer, and I think that's why he plays. Yeah, and I think that's why he plays him. If he's fit, he'll play. Now, obviously, the biggest one was Haaland was in. Was he out? Was he in? Was he in? And then obviously the foot injury said he was out. So that's what I thought. Grealish, and obviously I know you said there about the Doctor up against Dan Burn. I think the way City play, I don't think they play with as wide men to hurt Dan Burn as such. So I can understand where you was saying with Doctor going on that side to give Dan Burn an absolute torrid time. But obviously with Bernardo Silva going in there, I thought Dan Burn was the right choice to go in there for us. But if you look at that side, and you look at the bench as well, there's just it's frightening.
Well, the bench isn't as strong as it normally is, but when you look at Grealish and Kevin De Bruyne, you're just like, oh God, they've got two about £100 million player in it, and one of the best players ever to grace the game.
But if you look at the bench of the youth that's coming through, and what's not there, that's the difference, where the quality from the youth is far, far superior than I think from any other club around. they just seem to produce these fantastic young players. And I know the young player that was at Man City that offered a big, massive contract, and he's went to Chelsea. Now I know he scored a lot of penalties, but he's really, really progressing in the Chelsea. But this just goes to show. I think
Cole
it goes
Palmer,
down,
isn't it?
Yeah, I think it goes down to Pep Guardiola as well. How good he coaches these young kids from a young age and gives them the right attitude, the right dimension, the right diet, everything what you want to do in a footballer. And you can see these young kids coming through. And whoever comes off that Man City bench is a threat. It's not a De Bruyne, a Haaland, or all the other kids. They are all top because Pep will just trust them and go into a Champions League game and just put a young kid in and go, where's he came from? I don't know. But you'll watch him on a football pitch and he'll be so good. And it's just that's how far ahead they are of us. They're fantastic.
Oh, that was out of a doubt. Miggy at left back. I mean, he does work his backside off. He can tackle-ish. He's a bit too lightweight for me as a left back. You've still got to be able to put a challenge in, haven't you?
If Eddie Howe put Miggy at Almiron, I don't think if Eddie Howe put Miggy at left back, I don't think I'd watch Newcastle United again until that decision was made for him to do anything. That would probably be the worst decision I have ever heard in football, to play Miggy Almiron at left back, by the way.
It doesn't work, does it? It could. I mean, no. I can see he's thinking of it, because when we go into the game, Miggy was brilliant at tracking back and breaking play up at times, but I just think he's too lightweight. Calvin Phillips, again, I have heard about this, apparently Spurs.
To be honest, I honestly don't even think why we even contemplating talking about that position of Miggy Almiron on the left back. It's wow.
They like to throw things up on here to talk about. It's great. Right, let's have a look at our team. Obviously, injuries. We all were hoping Tino was going to play. When I put out the team, because I got told that the team a little bit early, and that Burn was playing. Everyone was going, why isn't Tino playing? Why isn't it? No one knew he was ill. And then that came out, he was ill, and everyone was like, oh, right. Not Eddie Howe's fault, because he's getting the blame for a lot of things, which we'll come on to later on. But the team picks itself, doesn't it, at the moment? And and you look at the bench, it's 2 goalkeepers, 5 centre-backs. You've got Parkinson, who I just don't know if he's going to be cut for this level, to be honest with you. I don't think there's a lot of other players in our youth system other than Miley and the other Miley who could potentially make it. But it was as you are, wasn't it, really?
Yeah. With obviously Joe Litton being out, I think there was you could pick the team bar one. I think obviously Burn Livermore was exactly which could have been the question mark. There was talks on the morning that Murphy may have made the squad as well. And I think it's just been a little bit of game too close. Because I got told he may be in the squad on a match day.
Yeah, the good thing about Murphy, with it being a shoulder injury, he doesn't have to get up to speed too much with his legs, does he? Because there's nothing wrong with them. I can see him coming back a little bit earlier.
So that one, he could have been back in the squad. Obviously, Eddie must have thought it was a game too soon. Yes, I was surprised. I looked straight. I was, where's Livramento? And I think it was one of the reporters put on that he was ill, which was a shame, because obviously he can change a little things from the bench as well. When we get a little bit tired, he could have took Dan Burn off and put Livramento back in there just for pace, for legs, or push them into midfield, anything, because he can play anyway up that side, which is a bit of a shame. But like you say, the team picked itself. And again, though, but that team, it wasn't like, oh my God, I wasn't worried. But again, I was optimistic again because we were at home. So it was just let's see what the lads are. Because I was more, because it was the second week we've had full training. I just felt a little bit more confident of what a game plan we had in play. Fresher, 1,000,000% with fresh legs and which I'd like to say I thought was much more positive.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, let's talk about the action. And it's the first 5 minutes, it was just hectic. We created some decent chances, but it falls to Man City in the end to take the lead. And I was fuming, absolutely fuming. I know the goal is scored about 2 minutes after the challenge, but it makes a massive difference. And unfortunately, VAR can't get involved because the game's gone too far on. But Anthony Gordon is pegging it down that left-hand side. He's got the beating of his man, and he just kept on pushing him and pushing him out of play until he threw him into the hoardings, and the referee said, play on. And then within 2 minutes, they get down the right-hand side. Walker plays it's a great finish from Bernardo, isn't it? You mentioned about Bernardo being a great player and a Pep sort of player. That finish is from a top-quality player. But I was still fuming that free kick was not given. And that changes. That goal doesn't happen if that free kick's given in my eyes.
But I was exactly the same as you. If a Premiership referee and officials can't see that Anthony Gordon picks that ball up, pushes it past, right, and he's going and he play the Man City player knows exactly what he's doing.
Yeah,
he steps across. Yeah, he steps across him and he pushes him out of play, right? And Trent Alexander-Arnold done exactly the same when we played at home to Liverpool.
Yes, he did.
Yes, exactly the same to Anthony, the same player, Anthony Gordon.
He could have got sent off as well, couldn't he?
That's right. He could have got sent off. And and if I remember on the day, the commentators all said if he hadn't been booked for a petulant kicking the ball away before, he could have received 2 yellow cards and been sent off simply because he knew what he was doing. I totally agree with 1,000,000%, and I was still raging after that, saying this goal doesn't happen if that decision was made. However, the build-up play, the ball to Kyle Walker, the ball inside, and the little flick was just absolutely world class. The goal itself was absolutely brilliant, and I said you can't take nothing away from the goal, but the refereeing on that was absolutely disgraceful, and the goal shouldn't have stood.
Yeah. I still can't believe it. And I had a man, obviously Martin was in the chat as well, and he was like, I can't believe that wasn't a free kick. And even he agreed, and that was a Man City fan. So it just shows you that it was an absolute terrible decision.
But I just think the referees and the officials at times last night, they got so many things wrong, and then they kind of tried to do things right after that, and they made themselves look like a mockery of themselves at times, which they don't help themselves by. If they get the basics right, the rest of the performance. I'm not saying a referee's decision last night changed the outcast of the game, because it certainly didn't.
No, it didn't.
It didn't. But when they get these kind of decisions wrong, we shouldn't be talking about a decision like that. What we should be talking about is how good that goal was. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
But
it was a fabulous finish, wasn't it?
Oh, it was a fantastic goal, but the foul itself was so basic and so deliberate.
And so blatant.
Talking point is so blatant. Exactly right.
Yeah, I was absolutely devastated. But you can't take away from the finish. I mean, even I was like, oh my God, that's an unbelievable finish.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not many players in the Premier League who can do that.
I mean, he's he's brilliant. I think he's having a fantastic season. There's Silva. He's just, you know, when players you think he can't get any better, he's one of these ones where he can get better, and I think he's just a fantastic little footballer, me. And I mean, at that time of the game as well, when they were 1-0 up, I thought the inward play that they were doing, passing between the lines, it was some of the best football I've seen on a football pitch. The way how fast they were passing, we had a compact midfield, right, but they were still finding pockets. I mean, Rodri, especially through that middle, he was just. I thought it was breathtaking. How the ones inside, the one he was picking up, and how he dictated playing. And there was times where Bruno, he's so good in them tight areas, right, and he was trying to turn out, and Rodri was there. Kovacic was there, and they just took it off him, and then just played on the front foot. And I thought they were exceptional for about 15, 20 minutes. I thought they were outstanding.
I got really frustrated that we weren't finding And man, especially when Bruno was, I was like, well, there's got to be space somewhere else. If there's 3 players on Bruno, where's the space? And there was none, because as soon as they passed the ball to somebody else, there was somebody else there and somebody else there. And that's how high their line was. It was incredible to watch them. And people don't give them credit for that, do they?
No. And I mean, Kyle Walker played, I would say, probably the highest out of the lot on that side. Kyle Walker was so high. But it was just the confidence, how if a fullback can play that high, it's the confidence what he's got with the midfielders in front of him, how they can keep the ball without it breaking down, because he knows eventually that will go to them without even worrying about going back the other way. And just, like I say, for 15, 20 minutes, I just thought all over the pot Man City, which is breathtaking.
Yeah. But the goal did rile us up, though. And it really sparked us into gear. And we obviously come to our equaliser, the Isak finish. Now, this goal doesn't happen if Fabian Schar isn't superb on the right-hand side, because he didn't just put 1 challenge in, he put 2 in to win the ball, which were fantastic. Then he plays it to Bruno, and Bruno, without even looking, boom, just plays that ball round the defender. Isak controls it. He's running into the box. He's got Gordon to his left, and I'm like, pass it. And he just cuts inside and just goes poof. And it was just cool as you like, wasn't it? It was an amazing finish.
Yeah, and I mean, like you rightly say, the aggression from Fab Schar was brilliant. The first tackle, and on the other side, he catty-hearted it because he wanted nothing to do with that tackle at all. He pulled out and tried to get a foul, and I was kind of looking at the referee to go for the foul, and because of how Man City were playing, and especially Walker was high on that side again. The ball came into Bruno in that little pocket, and Bruno played that absolute wonderful whip across. But Isak's touch, his pace, desire, and just to put that in, it just goes to show he's probably one of the best. Apart from Haaland, he is the best centre forward in this Premier League.
Absolutely. And that I think I said that about 10, 15 million times on my stream because Martin was watching it. He didn't rate Isak, and I'm like, that is why he's the second best striker behind Haaland, and that's why Alvarez is nowhere near him.
You can see now Isak's starting to get back to his full fitness. It takes a little bit of time to get going, and then you can see how sharp he is on the shoulder. I mean, his movement at times is frightening. I mean, Ali McCoy's picked it up last night. He was speaking about his movement, what he does off the ball, and he says it's absolutely frightening. Now, my worry is when he's up to speed, you know what happens the next time. And it's been that carbon copy, and to lose him would just be absolutely catastrophic for Newcastle United. How good he is playing at the minute. Yeah,
well, it would be with Wilson being injured as well. Would have no one.
Exactly.
It's horrible, isn't it? Second goal again. It's good press and play. I think in the first half our press was fantastic because we had the legs. The ball falls nicely to Dan Burn on the left hand side, who just plays one of those balls where you play at school and you just say, "Go on, mate, you run onto that."
Yeah.
And Gordon took it. And do you know what it is? I think Kyle Walker did not give Gordon the respect that he deserved when he was running onto that ball, because he gave him so much space to get the ball and run it at Walker. And Walker's thinking, well, I'm Walker, you're not going to get past me. And when Gordon dropped his shoulder inside and he smashed it in the far corner, I went ballistic. I couldn't believe he did that. You know, I was expecting something, but I wasn't expecting that. And it was, this guy took a lot of criticism recently. Very wrongly, because he's been playing with an injury since the Chelsea game, but he is now looking like the old Gordon that we were expecting. And what a finish!
I mean, you're on about your press. The player that stood out the most for me was Miguel Almiron with the press. I mean, we have been critical of him late, but I just thought his off the ball last night was just absolutely exceptional, breaking stuff down. And obviously the ball, and like we spoke on the show the other week about balance. When you've got a left footer playing in left back, it was natural from just to open that ball and just feed him down that line. And you're right, Kyle Walker, he kind of put on the sprint a little bit. Then he kind of backed off and thought, "Oh shit, I'm going to have to give it a bit of a more." But that was too late. Yeah. And then Anthony Gordon, he had it in his one mind what he was going to do. He was going to take it one way, come back inside, and hit that across the far side. And it was a brilliant finish. And again, I just couldn't believe what I was actually
I couldn't
seeing,
believe
to be
Walker
honest.
gave him that much room. I honestly couldn't believe it. I'm like, Walker, what's he doing? He's not closing. He was, but the angle as well, and just the way he slotted it in between the two City defenders into the far corner. It was a great finish. And we've seen him do it before.
Yeah, we've seen it do it. It was the Sheffield United game.
That's
when we beat them 8. But what stood out for me the most after that goal, when I had a look, I mean, Rodri's face was absolutely a picture. And Pep and them was just thinking, what on earth? Because don't get us wrong, mate, I thought Man City was still superior with the way they were playing, the way they were looking after the ball, but our aggression was there. We broke down and we countered quite quick.
Yes.
To score 2 goals like that in quick succession, I thought Man City didn't know what the hell had hit them. I didn't know what the hell hit me, to be honest. And I was just thinking, Jesus Christ. Think yourself, do you know what it is? I always thought we needed another one. It was exactly the same where we played them at the start of the season when we went 3-1 up with Trippier's free kick. I just thought we had to get that one to get something. I just felt it was like that again last night, just because the way these are playing, they're always going. They would have went in at half time and thought, we just keep doing what we're doing. We're always going to get goals because that's the belief they have.
Chances,
and we're always going to get chances, and it's what. But it was probably one of the best 45 minutes at St James's Park that I've seen for a long, long time. I mean, it had everything. You've seen the best passing you've ever seen. You've seen the best finishing you've probably ever seen. You've seen high intensity tackles, everything. Bad refereeing decision. And packed into 45 minutes. Ali McCoy said exactly what I thought. Forget half time. Just keep playing through. I didn't want that 45 minutes to end. It was world class. It was brilliant to be a part of.
It was. That probably would have helped us a bit more, I think, if we just carried on. I think half time reset Man City. Kind of the adrenaline went from us a little bit, because obviously we were angry with how their first goal went in.
Yeah.
And then when we went ahead, we were still trying to get that third. You could see we were trying our best. They were playing a high line still. We broke it a few times. Sean Longstaff obviously scored and it was offside when Isaac bent his run just a little bit too late. He's just got to learn to stay on side. It's about 3 times he's done that recently, isn't it?
Yeah.
And half time came at the wrong time. I was expecting Kevin De Bruyne to walk out at half time. So I thought Pep would be thinking in that changing room, Newcastle are playing very well. They've got the tails up now. They're going to come at us in the first 10 minutes. I'll bring Kevin De Bruyne on just to shut them up. And he didn't. He waited and they created some chances. But Dubravka was equal to everything. I personally don't think he was. I personally don't think they actually really hurt us until Kevin De Bruyne came on. I saw Foden shooting from 30 yards, which Foden never does. And I thought they were getting... they were running out of ideas. Doku was running out of ideas on the left wing, so he got dragged off. And it was Kevin De Bruyne. I said on my live show, I went, do you know what it is? As soon as he comes on, it's game over, and it ends up being that. We want to talk about his goal because there's a few. I mean, we mentioned before the show, and there's a picture being going around, which I'll put up now. It shows Kevin De Bruyne picking the ball up in a lot of space where a 6 potentially could have been.
Yeah.
I've messaged you and said to you, if we roll this back a few strips, though, when Rodri had the ball before he plays it to Kevin De Bruyne, all 3 of those Newcastle players were facing Rodri.
Yeah,
and they all went to press him at the same time. And that cost us this goal. However, even if there was a 6, I still don't think you're stopping Kevin De Bruyne because he's that clever at picking up space in those areas. He's done it all his career. And do you know, when he picked the ball up and ran, and I thought, well, he's still got Botman and Schar there. He's not going to play it to Alvarez. We'll probably block it. And he didn't lash it. He didn't try and smash it in the top corner. He literally placed it through Schar's legs into the bottom corner. And it was just poetry in motion, really, for Kevin De Bruyne. And I hate it when it's against us, but I love watching him play football because he's that good. And it was he just passed it into the net nonchalantly. It was just like, there you go, I'll have that. Like, no.
See, for me, our formation, what drives us crazy is when we're on it, we're a flat 4-3-3 with overlapping fullbacks, predominantly down the right hand side. Now, without the ball, we're a 4-5-1, but it's a flat 4-5-1, and we're getting exposed in behind when we're defending. But what's happening is when we're attacking, we seem to have too many players beyond the ball, or, like you say, in bad positions where we're getting hurt. Now, why I said you're about a 6 is, if you go to the bench, and then you'll go, who are you going to take off here? If we had Calvin Phillips on the bench, for me, I would have took Sean Longstaff off because I thought he was a passenger for quite a bit of that game. So then you put Calvin Phillips in to protect your back four. So then you've got a flat. So you become a 4-1-4-1.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So then when you go forward, you've always got that, because, like you say there, if you look at Rodri there, he's on the front foot. If you look at Kovacic, he's not interested in going anywhere. So if that breaks down, you've got that cover there to protect when we've got that midfield four. Eddie Howe has got nobody that can do that at all. But
no, he hasn't.
Again, what we were saying is player management. If 3 players are getting attracted to a football at this level, you've got serious problems. Now, with one person on that ball, which you've just explained, that Rodri had that football, why has Sean Longstaff pressed that? And why has Lewis Miley pressed that? One of them should have been protecting his back four. Bear in mind, we're 2-1 up there. Now, Anthony Gordon turned around and said after the game that we wanted to try and get the third one. There is times where you can go and try and get a third one, but there's times where you can game management games much, much better to protect your lead. And I don't think if you've got a player in front of there, I'm not saying, I know you said Kevin De Bruyne still would have scored. It would have been so much more difficult if we had a 6 playing in between the lines there for Kevin De Bruyne picking that ball up.
Agree. And that picture looks terrible because there's 5 Newcastle players there in a line.
Yeah.
I mean, but there's only 3 City players.
I mean, I seen today that Dan Burn was getting targeted, saying that Dan Burn wasn't picking anybody up. So he was expecting Dan Burn. So if he was Dan Burn was expecting to step in on there and Kevin De Bruyne, there's Foden on the outside of him where you can play that ball down the outside. If I was critical of Dan Burn, I think he could have been a slightly little bit narrower to try and narrow the space, but that's maybe a little bit critical. The main area is your midfield 3 there. That's been absolutely bad positional play there. That's your main worry there, because we're beyond the ball again. That's what happened with Gibbs White at Notts Forest as well. Yeah,
you're right. The only thing other thing I can think of here is Botman and Schar are running backwards. Now, could one of them have come out and left one-on-one with Alvarez? But then if you do that, you run the risk of Kevin De Bruyne playing a beautiful pass down the side.
He would just slide the side to Alvarez on his shoulder. Your main issue is that circle there of them 3 players doing absolutely nothing. One of them should have been protecting the back 4. Any of them. Bruno. And I don't think it's more Bruno, because Bruno, he likes to play the advanced one, and I don't think I would trust him playing in that in there. So you've got to look at Sean Longstaff in my eyes. Out of the experienced ones of Lewis Miley, he should have been streetwise on that and been sitting, so that even on the shoulder of him, I'm not saying sitting in front, even on the shoulder of that, he could have forced him wide, he could have done anything, fouled him, anything like that, but it was just too easy for him.
Yeah. And do you know what it is? This goal doesn't happen if we go back to last year. If we had Willock on the left wing, Joe Linton in left midfield with Dan Burn on the left, because they were so good at protecting Dan Burn.
Yeah. Now
that's why we never needed a 6 last season. It was because we had them 2 working their asses off and cutting out the space.
Now, like we were talking about how against the top sides, how can, like, because we've been hurt plenty of times through this middle of the season, and top sides, they don't play with 1 holder, they play with 2.
Yeah.
Now,
double pivot.
There's a double pivot there. Now Liverpool do it, Chelsea do it, and then they do it, and they'll have a holder and a runner. Now we have got none of them. We'll either go forward as a 3 or we'll go back as a 3. And now
Yeah.
I think when for game management against top sides, when you've got a player of Kevin De Bruyne's quality coming off that bench that can play in them areas and hurt you, I think you've got to put someone there just to stop that. And it's not parking the bus; it's just protection. Because when you're going forward on the other side, you can give your white men more confidence to go forward. It can bring your fullbacks more confidence to go forward, because if your fullback goes up, that holding midfielder just drops in at fullback if it breaks down and goes down that side, and vice versa.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've got nobody disciplined enough to do that. So this is why I think a 6 or a top holder that can play there, that'll help us massively going forward. So you can, when things are right and when we press and we're going forward, I think we're great. But when things like this, we need things to change just to see games through.
Yeah.
And I think it'll help Newcastle. I think we'll play better with a 6 in there. I really do. Not all the time, but majority of the time, I think it'll benefit us.
Yeah, I agree. I also think it's down to the free players themselves just not having their game awareness. Because free players shouldn't be pressing the ball. Because it is one simple pass that took them all out.
But
and
like
is that
you said,
because we've got a young 17-year-old in there? Is it because we've got Sean Longstaff play on the left-hand side? He's not used to it. And it's difficult to fix it. Like you say, with a 6 would fix it. But what we've got now, we've got to work with the players we've got. They've got to be freeze-framing that and talking about that in training and saying, 3 of you can't go at the same time. One of you has got to sit. You've got to work it out between you. And that's what Tonali, Joelinton and Bruno were doing at the start of the season. And it was looking great because they were all reversing around, weren't they? They were all changing roles all the time. But I just don't see that happening now with the 3 we've got in midfield, because I don't know if it's the inexperience of Miley or the intelligence of the 3 of them together, the understanding of saying, right, we used to were going out and dropping. It just doesn't seem to be working. But
like on that pitch when you're so close together, surely if you're seeing somebody sitting in that hole, right? I mean, even last week against them lot, Pritchard found that space in behind, and he could have hurt us. He hit the bar and he hit the port. Dubravka saved. Again, on that pitch, you should be saying, look, just sit. One of you sit. You know, but like I said to you, is Eddie Howe drilling them that much about the forward press? Is Eddie Howe drilling that we must do this, that it just automatically goes out of the head to the games management, and Eddie Howe's just going, let's just do this, so they automatically just go up and down like trains. It's frustrating to watch because we can all see it, and especially today on Twitter, it hasn't been I haven't seen as I've tried to stay off as much as I can today. I haven't seen as much today by saying Eddie Howe out. A lot of this has went down to that area where I think Newcastle United needs a number 6.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I mean, I took a battering on Twitter today, but I've also given a lot of a battering out as well. I have to admit, I've given as good as I've got because I'm sick of all these Eddie Howe out stuff. We'll come to that a little bit later on. The winner, it's heartbreaking because it's 2 minutes before the final whistle. There's a few people have said a few things which makes a little bit of sense, which we could have maybe slowed the game down by throwing a substitute on. That might have broke it up and stopped Man City from doing what they did. But when Kevin De Bruyne picked the ball up where he did, I thought, there's not too much danger here. And then he's just floated a ball beautifully to the back post. Has Trippier fallen asleep? I'm not 100% sure. Could he have played him offside? Maybe. But the ball is that good. The run is good. But you can't take away how good Bob was in that situation as well, can you? Because his feet were so quick because Dubravka came flying out at him as well. And he just shifted the ball from one foot to the other foot, and the ball was in the back of the net. And I was like, what the hell's just fucking happened?
And I mean, how much pressure was on De Bruyne to play the ball in and to give to give him, again, it was in that area where a 6 could have been, right? And
potentially, yeah. He was quite deep, though, for where he was. I mean, he was probably where he picked up the ball. But we were all back at that point, weren't we, though? I mean, there was... There should have been enough, but Kevin De Bruyne was so good at finding that half a yard.
I mean, that the ball itself was just his vision to see that was just out of this world. Trippier falling asleep, I think that's very harsh because I thought Trippier had a very, very good game, mate.
Oh, I thought he was brilliant. I thought he was back.
I honest, up against a real tough forward, and for Oscar Bob, the first touch off him in there,
Superb,
and then,
isn't it?
oh, it was unbelievable. And like you say, Dubravka came out, and I thought Dubravka had it, and then to shift his feet like that, and then to just side foot in the back of the net, I was just like, do I swear? Do I celebrate? Do I clap it? It was just to finish off a perfect game for Man City. That was exactly what it deserved. To kick us in the bollocks, that's what we deserved. But I thought it had everything. The game was just, it was. I came away. It was one of them ones where could we have changed? We kind of. So I keep saying we kind of change things from the bench. That's so frustrating. We can't. Fresh legs, I thought would have been massively. And you're relying on Lewis Hall coming off the bench. And it's just.
But he came off the bench in the 87th minute. So that shows you how much Eddie Howe really trusts, him as well. He's still learning. Then there was 2 keepers on the bench, mostly centre backs. Then Parkinson, who was up front. Let's go back to the goal very quickly because I just want to say, not just Bob's touch, but how close was Trippier of actually cutting it out as well. That's how good Bob's touch was because he would have been seeing Trippier flying in on him, and he was probably that far away from the ball, Trippier. And Bob just took it down, and then boom, he was away. But some people on Twitter have made some sort of sense, and I give these people credit sometimes because these are the ones who are all like Eddie Howe out and all this sort of stuff. Say Howe's fault not using the bench, but could he have maybe thrown on a defender in the 90th minute just to run the clock down and maybe bring some fresh legs on that way? But then if you're going to bring the cells on, who do you take off?
You would have just getting criticised to the death. The poor bloke is in a no-win situation because if he brought the, can you imagine if he took Isak off and put Lascelles on? My God, you would have gotten absolutely terrified. He would. It was just
crucified.
Crucified. Sorry, because he would have just turned on and went. Instead of going for the win, you've let yourself in. You've parked the bus, and he can't win. So if you turn the clock back and go on 70 minutes. And you had a Joe Willock or Harvey Barnes to come off the bench. Fresh legs, loads of energy. That's completely different. We haven't got that. And I just thought the lads give everything on the pitch. I really did. I just thought it was a great, great game of football. I loved every minute of it, even though we got beat. I just thought it had everything. And it showed how far we've came. And what we've done. But again, it's highlighted in areas what we lack. But hopefully, that we can put right with this 2 weeks off.
Fingers crossed. Gordon should have done a long walk instead of coming off the other side of the pitch. Unfortunately, the officials tell the players to go off at that side now. So it's one of the things they've cut down on. So yes, in hindsight, that would have been something to do, but it was never going to happen. Baz, what would take you to say thank you for the memories, Eddie, but time to move on? It would take him being back in the summer massively, and him not getting it right. And then I would say potentially it's time to move on. But Eddie Howe is one of the best things that's ever happened to this football club since Bobby Robson and Kevin Keegan. And you've got a very short memory, Tiger, if you don't remember what he's done, where he's got us to, far too quickly, and we've suffered because of it. All the injuries we've had this year, I can't believe people can't see it in the black and white. It's written in black and white, isn't it? We've had 11 players to 15 players out at a time. I just don't understand why people think we can just carry on winning games. I don't know. Willock's the one that really hurts me, by the way. And Willock, I think he's so good, and we miss him so much, along with Joe Linton, who was obviously missing that game as well, that was a huge miss. Could end his career. I hate to say it, but Willock's injury could end his career. Achilles repeat injury. It's like an elastic band. Oh, I don't want to hear things like that. Willock is just a fantastic football player, and I really miss him. I'll tell you what I was very disappointed in was TNT's coverage, because they never showed a repeat of this. Now, was it a handball or not? Because I didn't see it, but Miggy did, and Miggy was furious.
I mean, I missed it, and I didn't see it till today. And then, because, well, obviously I've missed it because nobody's ever put it on until I've seen it today. It looked like a handball, but we don't get...
VR apparently looked at it, but TNT never even mentioned it. Never even mentioned it at the end of the game either. And Miggy was adamant there was a handball in there.
I mean, we don't get decisions at home against Man City when it comes to penalties. Keepers
No.
taking out Ryan
God,
Fraser
really.
and stuff like that. So
Oh God, yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah.
Tiger, 15 injuries. 15 injuries. Honestly, I give in. You're not gonna change my mind. I'm not gonna change your mind. So there's no point in carrying on. You know what I mean? I am completely Eddie Howe in. You're not going to change my mind. If I'm not going to change your mind, there's no point in going around in circles. Certainly did look like a handball. I mean, like I said, the TV just, and then we didn't even know VR was checking it at one point. I was like, what the hell's going on?
I mean, if you think,
obviously the game,
if you think, Baz, how frustrated we are for not winning football games, just think how frustrated Eddie Howe is not being able to pick his best team or pick his best squad every week. Now, I think he's doing a remarkable job. He's got his hands tied, and what more can you do? You cannot wave a magic wand where, if people think he's not doing a very good job, like you say, they shouldn't be watching Newcastle United, because what he's got out of these footballers playing week in, week out through injuries. Anthony Gordon played through an injury. Everybody's been playing through injuries, carrying things, and it's just like you say. He's asking players to go that extra mile because he's got nothing else. Some managers would probably just throw the towel in and say, "I can't do this," and probably resign or leave. But he hasn't. I think he's got the heart of a lion. He wants to do well for this football club, and we should be so proud that we've got an honest manager that gives everything for Newcastle United, and you can see it clear as day.
We're not going to be in a relegation fight.
No.
If you watched the game yesterday and you think we're going to be in a relegation fight, if we're playing any other team at home, we batter them, especially that first 45 minutes. Oh, man. The problem with some fans to the statement, I'm bored of people using injuries as an excuse. We were tired of having to deal with so many injuries. It's just one of those things. Mark Goldberg had a good point about the amount of Man City players arguing with, yes, Rodri should have been sent off for me because he was arguing with the referee all game. It's supposed to be. He wasn't even the captain. Was he the captain?
No, Kyle.
The captain's allowed to talk to. There you go. Then, so he's not even allowed to talk to the referee. So he should have been sent off for dissent for me personally. But there we go. It's Man City in it. You just don't get those kind of decisions, as we pointed out. What are your thoughts on Eddie Howe as a manager and as the job he's doing? Yes, results are frustrating, but remember when he took over, results didn't come straight away for us. We started to get players bought. Now we want players back from injury and hopefully a signing. He's going to turn it around, isn't he? I mean, Villa away is a tough game. Fulham away is a tough game in the FA Cup. But we got a nice break. And then we've got a very favourable run of games, which could see us finish, hopefully, 6th or 7th this season. That's my new aim now. Would you agree with that?
1,000,000%. I mean, just remember those Champions League nights, what Eddie Howe's brought back to this football club. When we beat PSG 4-1 at home, that was because of what he'd brought into this football club, and that's the standard where we can get to. Now, how can you criticise a manager? And people say injuries this, injuries that. All I'll keep saying to you is keep looking at our bench when we've got 3 goalkeepers on there, and I think 3 youth players. Was it 3 goalkeepers and 3 youth players, Baz?
2 goalkeepers, 5 defenders, and 1 youth player.
Well, there you go.
On the bench.
Yeah, but there's been times this season where we've had 3 goalkeepers on that bench, hasn't there? Sorry, there's always been Gillespie, Karius, and Dubravka's been on the bench when Nick Pope's been fit. So there's been 3 goalkeepers on the bench. So which other football club in the Premier League have had this dilemma? Nobody.
What Premier League team could actually deal with it the way Eddie Howe has dealt with it?
Exactly. So this man's got a big set of bollocks, and for me, he's the right man for us taking us forward. And I am 1,000,000% behind his backroom staff. Everything about Eddie Howe, I love him to bits. My only worry is what he's hired as a medical. Hopefully, because I think he's fired one of his medicals. Did they get rid of one of the chief medical ones? Not
They
so
did,
long
yeah.
ago.
They got rid of one after the
Yeah.
Botman situation, didn't they?
Yeah, so hopefully he sorts that out. And we're in good hands. We're in good hands. The future's bright. We just got to be patient.
Right, this one here. Get the under-23s in the squad. Klopp does that. But you've got to remember that our under-23 squad is nowhere near to the level of Liverpool's under-23 squad, man. Do you even know all the players who were in the under-23 squad, Tiger? You tell me who in the under-23s right now could get into our first team. Because
Ask
Miley's
Tiger.
17 and he's already in it.
Ask Tiger how many of that under-23 games that actually win a season.
Yeah.
The
and
struggle.
what league they're in.
They struggle.
Exactly. And they're not even in the highest league.
No, they struggle.
You know, we have got our under-23s is something that we're looking to improve because FFP allows us to spend on players at the age of 16, 17 without, FFP being involved. But those players, we will not see the fruits of that success for another 4 to 5 years potentially. So you've just got to be patient. I mean, who's that guy who plays for Liverpool now? The one who sits in midfield? Jones.
Yeah.
I thought he was shit last season. Absolutely shocking. I thought, why have they got him? And look at him this season. He is very good.
He's one. He's played. They brought who we were linked to in the summer, Ryan Gravenberch, right? He's playing instead of him now. He paid a lot. Liverpool paid a lot of money for him, and Jones is playing. He scored against us, didn't he?
There you go. Yes, I think he did.
Yeah, and I think he's a great player.
Yes, he turned into a much better player than I expected. Because when I first saw him, I thought, well, it just shows you they obviously trusted him, but their youth system is well ahead of ours, massively well ahead of ours. And Man United beat our under-18s recently 3-1, so there you go. And like I say, we are miles behind. People just don't realise we've got a project right in front of us that is going to take years to see the fruits of it. 5 to 10 years. We're 2 years into it. Stick some false moustaches on some of the lasses and get them in. Well, they got hammered today off Man United as well in the FA Cup. Now. Shows you how far behind they are as well.
I mean,
the way down.
Yeah, I mean the girls are unbeaten in so many games, and they've went to a team. I said to the wife, I goes, they're on a different level, Manchester United, but then.
Yeah, of course they are.
The girls go to Chelsea and Man City and Arsenal. They're on a different level altogether. So that's how far we've gained with the women as well. So we're just starting to progress things right the way throughout the whole system.
Yeah, the women's team is basically starting from scratch.
Yeah,
that's the best way to describe it, and they're doing their best. If Klopp's number 2, the Dutch guy, he has Liverpool playing system all the way down so that they adapt going into the main team. We don't. We do now, though, Tristan. We do. But we've only just started it. Dan Ashworth was brought in to bring in exactly what he does at Brighton. Brighton's, all their youth teams play the exact same way as the manager is designed their first team. And they also pick their managers designed on how their football philosophy is. And that is what we're trying to do. And we will be doing that. It's just going to take ages to get it sorted. I don't think the owners, this is the little topic I wanted to talk about. Are our owners now, for me personally, I think that this season is kind of finished in a way. They're not gonna, obviously they want to finish as high as they can, but their expectations of finishing in Europe potentially are gone. So I don't think they're gonna dive into the market in January, because January is a hard market to dive into. I think they've kind of given up on it a little bit and said, right, Howe, deal with what we've got, try and get as high as you can. Let's have a massive budget, the biggest budget we can have in the summer, and we'll go again and push for top 4. If we don't have Europe, we saw what we did last season, 1 game a week. You can train them hard, you can set them up properly, and with instead of buying £50 million player in January, we can maybe bring you in 2 £80 million players in the summer instead, because we'll have the budget to do that.
Yeah.
I think that's what's going to happen now. I think we'll see that. I think the owners are thinking, this season's kind of a write-off now. Let's look ahead and let's plan for the summer to push for Champions League again.
I totally agree with you. But the injuries, I think, is kind of forcing our hand that we need a body in. I really do, because we're still a lot of our senior players that seem to be a long way away from being back to fitness. We can't keep going through. Even one player will help, because we can't keep going through with these young ones on the bench all the time, and then potentially, but like I've said as well, Tonali's coming back in the summer. That's massive for us.
Yeah.
There's
another player who will be fit then.
That's just a player that's forgotten about how good he is.
Yeah.
Like you say, if we potentially go out and spend big, because obviously we've got the Adidas money, we'll have Champions League money, we'll have the seller money, we'll have future sponsorship money coming in the summer, which all this money wasn't put into Darren Neal's statement, which we'll find out next year. But are we going to push for a European place? For me personally, it was a massive test on our squad this year, which took its toll. I'll be happy not to finish in Europe, but to have a fully fit squad going into next season, and potentially, like you say, playing once a week, training full squad to pick through, and then have a right good go next season. And that would be. I think he'll attack the FA Cup. I really do. He will attack that FA Cup, because if we can win that, it's Champions League football. But then
is it not Europa League for the FA Cup?
Is it not? Is it not Champions League?
I think 5th place is meant to be going to Champions League if we outperform Germany and Spain, or Italy. I think we're very close to losing that 5th spot.
Is that if you win the FA Cup?
No, if you finish 5th. I think the FA Cup's Europa League.
Is it? I thought it was Champions League, the FA Cup. So if you can, that's a different ball game. The Europa League for me is just, I'm not a big fan of it. But I thought it was Champions League. But then obviously, if you're going into summer with loads of potential to strengthen the squad right up, we could have a right good go again next season.
Yeah. I think Garizi is a player we should try and sign. £50 million buyout clause. Someone has scored 17 goals and 14 in Germany. I know it's not the greatest league in the world, but for 15 million, that is worth a risk.
We spoke about the other day, didn't we?
Yeah. I mean, Benfica, you're buying players from them will cost an absolute fortune. I honestly, FA Cup is Europa. Yeah, Europa's the best one, because obviously it's the other one. It's the Europa Conference we don't want to be in. For me, that's a waste of time. More bad if we get FA Cup final and let's say play City and lose, we get Europe. No, I think it goes to the next place in the league, doesn't it?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure it does. We'll have to look into the rules for that one, Tiger. But I'm positive if you lose the FA Cup final, and there's obviously City are already in the Champions League and Europe, I think it goes to the next place in the Premier League. Gary, yes, me too, mate. Going on the summer and getting players and we can hit the ground running. Exactly. The summer is the best time to buy players, because January, you've got to hope you find yourself a gem and that they're ready to go. I don't think we're going to dive in massively. I think we might get a loan in maybe, but I think we're struggling, to be honest with you. Let's have a look at the league table. It is looking bleak, but it's not too bleak. I did have a conversation on Martin's channel. Someone said we're still going to get Champions League football this season, even if we get beat off Man City and Villa, and I laughed at him. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. If we lose to Villa, you can forget about Champions League. I mean, you can forget about Champions League now, to be honest with you. I mean, Arsenal have got a game in hand. They go to 43 points. It's out of our reach, personally. But there's no reason why we still can't catch West Ham, because West Ham have lost players recently. They've got, I think, Bowen and Paqueta are out. Man United are Man United. Spurs have lost Son, even though they got a 2-2 draw with Man United today. They're going to, I think, struggle a little bit. So there's still a lot to fight for, even though, I mean, we're only... Yeah, I mean, six is reachable. We're only 5 points behind West Ham. I think we could still finish 6 because we've got a good run coming up. I think we'll Eddie Howe will get us on a good run, and 6 is in our sights. Do you agree?
we need that win as quick as possible.
Yes, we do.
We need that win as quick as possible because losing's a bad habit as well.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, once we get that first win, and hopefully it's a great win, then it'll kickstart us on a bit. Then hopefully we'll go on a run. Like you say, that the Aston Villa game's really, really tough, but the ones after that, potentially we could get 9 points out of them as long as we're right at it.
Who would I sign summer position-wise? I'll ask you this after I've done my bit. I would maybe a goalkeeper. I'm not 100% sure on a goalkeeper anymore, the way Dubravka's been playing. And obviously, Pope comes back. I would definitely look for cover for Schar. I would definitely look for a 6 to help with that, to basically to give Howe other options to change up formation if we need to. I'll definitely be looking to upgrade Miggy. I love Miggy. I love him to bits. But if we had another Anthony Gordon on the right wing, because Anthony Gordon's contributed to 12 goals this season.
Yeah.
You put another one on the other side who contributes 12 to 15 goals. That's what you need as a front three to be able to push for Champions League positions. And I would also be looking for another forward who can maybe play on the right and up front. But would you sell Wilson if we were guaranteed to bring in another forward?
1,000,000%. He's been a fantastic player for Newcastle, but to move forward, we need to replace Wilson with a player that's fit for 85% of the season.
Yeah, I agree. What positions would you go for? How many would you think we would sign? Because, I mean, you got to think Tonali could be back. Willett could be back. Murphy. Murphy's not world-class either, is he? But, I've said DM, centre-back, right wing, and a forward. Would you agree totally with that, or would you throw in another one?
No, it's 1,000,000% a right-sided centre-half, a young one for the. I'm saying young. I would say Sven Botman type, Tomori down that route because I think he's a fantastic player. Definitely a holding midfielder, just to really strengthen up there, and a forward. I think it's critical. We buy a centre forward, and again, Murphy. It didn't get us wrong. He loves the club, everything, but he's not. I mean, this is how desperate we are for players back. We're absolutely over the moon that Murphy could be coming back. But realistically, going forward, it's not a challenge for them areas that you want to go in up the league. Will he get into a top 6 side across the country? No, definitely not.
No.
Would Miggy get into them? Definitely not. So Miggy, for me, should be on the bench as a game changer, and you need a top right centre up there as well. Because you've got the other side with Harvey Barnes and Gordon. You need another forward definitely in there. Because obviously Gordon can play up top. But you need you spend big on a centre forward.
Barnes to come back as well, isn't there? So there's so many options that we've got. And if you put our squad together on paper and you look at it, you'll go, we'll be fighting next season. But if you just all you got to do is add maybe 1 or 2. And we're talking about adding 4. So that just shows you, doesn't it?
But if you look at Man City's team and the Liverpool's team, they added 4. They add 3, and they'll be settled for a while, and then all of a sudden they'll offload a few, make a lot of money off them, and then bring in another 3, like Liverpool did when they were on about. Henderson went out, and other players went out. Fabinho went out. Firmino went out. And what they've replaced with, just obviously Nunez, Gakpo, Slavacai, Gravenberch, McAllister, all top quality players that push them up there. Now, we're on about, we'll keep Murphy, we'll keep Longstaff. Like, it's crazy for me, right? When I watch it, when I listen out there, when we'll go and people talk about different players and whose position, and they'll go with whose place will he take. Longstaff's in there. And I'm going, or Murphy's playing out there, and I'm thinking, if you think for the future for Newcastle United going forward, we're going to keep a hold of these players and be successful to go forward. Come on, man, give your heads a shake. Get these stepping stone players out of our football club. And respectfully, I'm sounding awful that way, but they move them on to other things to bring in top quality players.
Yeah, everyone's saying that we should well, we could be selling a star. We don't need to sell a star. If you sell Wilson, Longstaff, and Miggy potentially, you could recoup about 70 million there between those three players, and then you don't need to sell a star. So there's a lot of contracts expiring. There's a lot of wages coming off the books, which is fantastic. Hendrick's wages is coming off the books apparently, because where he is on loan, they're going to be paying all his wages. You know, there's lots and lots to look forward to, but I definitely wouldn't be selling anyone. Definitely not. No. Just want to jump back to one. It's great to see Lindsay back. She's been through a bit of a hard time recently. Looking forward to having her and Fez on the show, telling their stories from being banned from the football club. Basically, it's horrendous. It should never happen to any of them. Liam as well. So we'll be telling their story. I think it's the 23rd. I've got that penciled in. So look out for that show. No offense against Inspired Kevin De Bruyne, other than mentality, I don't think this coach has the experience to coach a consistent winner. Well, time will tell, Thomas. I'm on Eddie Howe's side. Ian's on Eddie Howe's side. You're not going to change our mind. It's not going to happen. Back him in the summer, and then if he fails, then yes, look for a Mancini or someone like that. But until that happens, Eddie Howe's the right man for this football club. I'll be back at 10 o'clock because I'm doing an across the pond show with John. Get some American views on. Thanks for joining in. Obviously, Ian's hopefully going to be a big part of the channel going forward. Love talking to him. He knows his stuff. And I'm trying to think when I'll be back next. Sunday today, back at 10 o'clock, probably Wednesday night or somewhere like that. But I'll be in touch, Ian. And we've got a week off. Yes. I love it. Right, everyone. See you at 10 o'clock. Take care till then.